What's up, everybody? My name is Daniel Grissom. Welcome to Kids Cartoon Academy here on YouTube. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below telling me what character you want to learn to draw next. Today, we're going to be drawing Isabela from the movie Encanto. All right, to draw Isabela, first make sure your paper is vertical, not horizontal. And we're going to start with some very light, basic sketch lines. So let's go just to the right of the middle of your page. Imagine where the middle of your page is. Go just a little bit to the right of that. And what we're going to do is a very, very light, straight line. Close to the top, all the way down. And this is going to be the basic shape of her dress, the outside edge, and then we're going to curve up and out. It's going to get close to the left of the page. Then we're going to curve up almost like we're doing a triangle, except it's not going to connect at the very top. It's going to actually curve up like this. This is going to be your shoulders. So try that shape. It's pretty thin up here. And let me show you how we'll do the arms so you can see how we're creating Isabela's body here. So this arm is going to go straight up from there, off of this line at the top. It's more curved at the bottom. Bring it to a point here for the elbow and curve it in. And then we can just do a very, very light sort of triangle there for the hand at that point. Make it skinnier at the wrist and thicker down here at the forearm where it meets the upper arm. So make each part of this arm about the same length. This arm is going to be coming down, and we can sort of break this up into two shapes. First, very lightly, we'll do an oval, very skinny oval. We want it about the same size as this one. Then, instead of doing another oval in that same exact direction, slightly tilt the next one, just not straight, but a little more straight than this one. So if this one is angled down, let's angle that one just up a little bit. And it's going to be skinnier at the end where the wrist is. So we've got the two parts of the arm. And again, you want to make sure this part of the arm is the same as that. In fact, each length of each part of the arm should all be the same. Let's go ahead and draw a very light sort of triangle here for her hand. And let's first adjust this shape for the dress. And then I'm going to bring it down a little further so the tip of the dress is to the left of this hand and further down. Let's now adjust her torso. So what you're going to want to try is find the shoulder, this corner, and curve in a little more from the side, in, because the hips come in, and just above this elbow is where you're going to do a curve across for her waistline. So I'm going to darken these lines so it's easier for you to see, but you want to keep your lines very, very light because some of these will be adjusted as we put details on the dress, etc. So again, what we've done is go from the shoulder, curve, slightly curve that's curved this direction, almost like it's going to the bottom of your page. And then right above this elbow line, you do a curved line straight across. And now you can see that's where her waist is. And then we're going to bring this out and do some flowy little shapes for the dress. They don't need to look just like mine. What I would do is some bigger curves here and some skinnier ones on this edge. You want to make them sort of random in size. Some are bigger, some are smaller, etc. Next, we're going to now erase this line that was in between the arm and the waist. Now we're going to do this other layer of dress. First, I'm going to do a sort of guideline. So what you're going to want to notice is now this piece of the dress is really, instead of going out towards the shoulder, we're going to lightly bring it into this corner of the waist. Erase this extra line. Erase anything that's on the inside of this part of the dress. And we're going to do another layer of fabric that starts from this line but then curves out. And I'm going to do a big piece like this, curve it up because we've got some folds, some wrinkles. Curve that up. If you want to make the folds look convincing, then you can zoom in here and do a slightly straight line that goes down and curve that up. So what you're going to see is this would sort of be shaded in later. You don't need to shade it in with your pencil, but now you can see it's looking a little more 3D. We're going to do that again. So curve that out from this corner, then curve it in underneath, stop about halfway or so under this line. Go straight up. You can shade it in now or later. And so you see how we've got some nice folds there. I'm going to bring this down and let's go back to this line first and curve it around. And now we can bring this out and curve it up. So each layer of folds is in front of the other. Erase this line that's back here. Let's go ahead and make this part. Since we put some details here a little early, let's go ahead and put this part. Make it look more 3D, very lightly shade under there. And so what you see now is this piece of fabric that wraps around the body. And let's go ahead and do the bottom of the dress with a little more of a curve. So curve up, down, and out. You see how now it looks like the dress is open and the feet can come out underneath that. And curve this out a little bit instead of being such a straight line. Erase the old guidelines, which were there, helpful for us to get the overall basic shape. So we've got a nice pose here. Now what we're going to do is add the basic shape for the head, and then we'll go and add the rest of the details. So let's first have the neck going straight up. So right in the middle of this line, you can sort of do a little line just as a guide. That's going to be the middle of the neck, and then we're going to have a little line on each side for the thickness of the neck. On top of that, we're going to do this sort of a teardrop shape for the head. So a chin is sort of a V shape. And then it gets wide at the top like a circle. In fact, it how big do you do this? Let's talk about proportions. You want the head to be able to fit twice from the shoulders down to this first layer of fabric. So this is the length of one of the heads from the top to the chin. And just fit it in there. So that's once, and that's twice. So from the shoulders down to this first piece of fabric, that's how the head should fit. In fact, another way to measure it and think about it is it's just a tad longer from the top of the head to the chin, a tad longer than one of the pieces of the arms. So the arms should be a little shorter than the head, just a tad bit. Now I've got the basic shape for the head. Let's put the basic shape for the hair. It'll come sort of curve like that. Go back to the top. Just trace along the top of the head, curve it out, and then it cuts in. And then here it's going to trace along the top, go down like you're aiming towards this elbow, and then curve it out a lot more. And bring it in so it curves in right above the wrist. And then you'll see it behind the arm too. Now let's come here and let's angle out this torso a little more. So it's almost a straight line, but we actually want it to tilt out a little bit. And about halfway in the middle of this portion, it's going to curve back in up to her shoulder. You can erase the old line. And that's more accurate. Erase a bunch of these lines that separate the different parts of the body from each other. So shoulder, elbow, wrist, same over here. Okay, so this is looking a lot better. Let's put the basic shape for the feet. And then we will do the details. So a little bit from the right side of the corner of the dress, we're gonna do a straight line down, curve it over here. These feet are pretty small, and then curve the bottom. Probably even smaller than that. So skinnier ankles than that. And for the foot over here, we're gonna do a different pose. She'll be on her tippy toes more. And so you're gonna come left of this foot, just a little bit, not too much. And we're gonna curve down. And you wanna be even with the bottom of this foot. So that's how far this curve line comes. And then just a small curve there, because we're gonna see the side of her foot. It's basically a straight line up. And then we get to the heel and curve that in. So a very thin foot here. Let me sharpen those lines so it's a little easier to see for you. Now this might appear to be a shorter foot, but not once we put the details for the shoe on here. So let's go ahead and do the details now. We'll go from the bottom to the top. Our first set of details will be the shoe down here. So let's go ahead and curve this over. Put a little bottom of the shoe right there. And then these straps which wrap around the ankle. You really only see one side, maybe a little bit of that piece. Next, we're gonna do the same thing over here. You've got a curve like this in this direction, then it comes to the bottom, very close to the bottom, and you do the bottom of that shoe, the sole, and then the strap is going to connect to the back here. We actually need to add this part for the heel. And then the strap comes around like this, and then up. Now let's do some of the folds and wrinkles for the dress. We'll do a couple that are pretty close together. And then one that's far apart, a bigger one up here. Maybe a little one back here as well. Now, we've done the details here, so let's come up to this one. Find one of your curves and do a line there. And in fact, we can create the same effect here if you want. If this is too much, too many details, don't worry about it. You can keep it simpler. But if you'd like to add this level of detail, then come up to the corner and curve down below and then cut straight up. Let's erase inside this corner here and instead curve the top back in like we're going back in this direction and then bring it back in to touch this corner. You could shade that in just to help your eye see it more 3D. I might end up erasing the shading when I ink and when I color, but it'll help you see the fold, the type of fold we're creating. Now, on the edge of this curve is where you add that wrinkle. See that? And you can create that type of fold really wherever you'd like. I'm not sure it's worth it for these little curves just because they're so tiny. But we do want to put a couple lines. Maybe some go up to the top of the waistband and some just go halfway or so. The dress is looking good. Let's come to the top. We're going to put the details up here. I'm going to make the neck a little bit thinner. I realize I had it just a tad too thick. So first, I'm going to come to the left of where the neck touches the shoulder area. And I'm going to create this V shape, but it's curved and it's sort of angled out because she is sort of arching her back as she's spinning just slightly. So the point, the axis or the angle is like this. So the point is here, not just straight down. It's to the side a little bit. And from here we'll have some curves. And then let's put the sleeves, which are sort of a transparent type of fabric, sheer fabric, but we'll still add them. This will curve in. This touches underneath. I'm gonna make her arm a little thinner. I did it a bit too thick. initially. Now let's add the sleeves. Up here, we'll go up, curve down around the arm, and then just little frills coming out there. Erase just slightly, just a little bit, lighten that up where the arm line is. Don't get rid of it completely because, like I said, it's mostly see-through. We're gonna do the same on this side. The fabric actually is close to the shoulder here, and then we've got this extra frilly part of the fabric, which starts a little lower on the arm. You don't need to get the curves just like mine, just put some curves in there on the bottom. She'll have some flowers all over this part of the dress, which we'll add later. Let's put the details for the hands, and then my favorite part, details for the face. So for the hands, you're gonna wanna look closely here. Curve out for the thumb. Then bring this finger, the index finger, out. In. The finger behind it will be more straight up to the wrist. And we'll see one more finger at this angle. You won't see the pinky finger at this angle. That last finger just dips out just a tiny bit, very short, hardly at all. Up to the wrist. Get a slight curve there. And make sure the elbow where it connects is very smooth. There's no points there. And same thing here. Make sure it's thin at the wrist. It's a little thicker right in this area where the forearm is, and then curve it back towards the elbow, and then up. Again, it's all smooth here around the elbow. Same thing up here. We're going to, you actually do want to point for an elbow on this side. Bring this out. You can actually do a little overlap for the forearm, very tiny. And then the bicep is there. Now for this part of the hand, go out from the wrist, do a curve, and then the thumb out like that. The thumb has a slight curve to it. In my live classes, I teach how to draw hands. So if you're interested in those, you can check those out. I teach how to construct hands in all sorts of different poses from different angles and for different characters. All right, so for this finger, pointer finger comes up. Now we're going to come right below that and do this other shape, which really is all those fingers from the middle to the pinky coming in and then curving down. This part's pretty hard, so don't worry about it too much. Pinky will be in here. Just want that pointer finger coming up. I'll refine this when it's time to ink, and you'll be able to see it a little better. Let's see if I can help you see a little more accurately now. I'm going to darken these lines now, but you don't need to darken yours until you ink. I'm just darkening them so you can see it more easily. You really want the pinky to be in front so it actually appears to be the thickest, just because it's overlapping these other parts, which we only see the tops of them. And then the pointer finger comes up, goes behind these fingers, connects here to the thumb, which curves down into the wrist. And you want the wrist a little more curved where it connects, not so pointy. There we go. Now it's time for the face. I'm going to bring this down a little lower. Mine needed to be lower. Yours perhaps does not. Now, just go ahead and erase that line at the top of the hair, the old circle that was there, part of the line that was part of the old circle when we did the head. Now what we're going to do is something you'll see me and many others often do when you're creating the face, is to do these guidelines which show us the direction she's looking. Very soft, very light, not dark. They'll be erased in the end. Halfway from the top, if you're splitting the face in half, it goes in the halfway line, except it's curved to the left. She's looking this direction. You're going to do the same thing in the middle horizontally. They're both at an angle because she's tilted her head. Now we can do the features of the face, including eyes, nose, and mouth. So first what I'm going to do is put the eyes in here. Curve line, slightly curve line at the bottom. Same thing over here. This eye is going to be like right in the middle of this half of the face. Slightly curved line. Much larger curve line for the top. Later we'll add eyelashes, etc. Very small in the corner. If you have a pinpoint or ink point, tip of the pen or marker or color pencil that is thin enough to do that. Then we'll come here for the nose. So right along this corner, bring this nose down, and you're going to stop about halfway in between the eyes and the chin. And this line for the nose is going to stop right in the middle of this bottom half. So right in the middle, you're going to end that curve. Dip it back in so it touches this guideline. You can put a nostril right above the bottom on this side and do a very small slight curve back here. We'll see a little bit of the nostril poking out the other side. Nostril's a little too big. So if it looks off, you ask yourself why. What if I change the size or the placement and see if that helps? And I think that does. Next, we're going to do the mouth. First, we'll do a curve right below that. Comes up. Right in the middle of this eye is where it's going to end. You can do the top of the lip. You could do the mouth open or closed. I'm going to do it open so we'll see the teeth. And I think I need to bring the cheek out a little more and the chin down a little further to make some more room there. So the face can be difficult, and you'll start with the basic shape, but you often find that you have to adjust that as you add more and more details. That's looking a lot better. Now we can add the eyebrows. This touches the edge. They're actually pretty high up on the head and pretty close to the hairline. So actually start it up high. And they're about in line with the edge of the eyes, the inside edge of the eyes. And they're curved. And now let's do the pupils. Big circles on the inside. Here we'll just see part of them on this side. That's the iris on the outside, and then the pupils, the dark pupils on the inside. Let's add some little teeth in there. You might see those, you might not. Actually looked better when I didn't have those lines for the teeth. So sometimes with any drawing, you can add too many details and it won't look as good. So sometimes simplifying your drawing looks better. Now let's go to the ear up here. I'm gonna bring this in. Have a little tiny bit of hair right in front of the ear. Just gonna come out, down, erase the inside. And right on the bottom of that earlobe, we're gonna attach an earring. One curve in the ear and another. Let's put a flower up here in her hair. Let me erase it so it's easier to see. Some of those lines. And I'm going to bring this a little higher so I have more room to put the flower in there. Right about here. Bring where you had this guideline down the middle of the face, erase it on the inside, but at the top you actually want to keep it because that's where the hair part's in the middle. And it comes out and does that curve we were talking about earlier. Now to add to the hair texture, make it more realistic, curve the ends, add some little curves there, and break it up a little. Erase the lines you don't want, those old lines that were just guidelines for the basic shape of the hair. And the hair is done. Then you'll just put some flowers here on her dress. Different shapes, different sizes. You could also just save this for the inking or the coloring stage. You just go in with your markers, colored pencils, crayons, whatever you're using to color, and just color those flowers in. I'm just going to do a few flowers here, some very basic shapes. Again, not too many details. Just do some small ones and some big ones. Mix it up, spread them out. I'll do most of this in the coloring stage. Put some in the front over here as well. All the way up here. Now we're ready to ink.